load number 16. The first tank we mixed, I wasn't sure, I might have said it in the last video, but I wasn't sure how many load I get out of it because it was quite thick. But it actually turned out alright, it wasn't as bad as I thought. And we got the guts of 10 load out of it. And we're already on load number 6 of this other tank as well, so we've it well put down. And there's about 2.5, 3 foot left on that tank there, so I don't want to overdo it. We don't know what the weather might do, because we're alright for space now. So what I'll probably do is take over 2 more load. That'll raise it about another almost maybe 6 inches, and then leave it at that. And because I still have another tank at home, you know, our single bay tank, our 4-bay single, that tank is only half full at best, so that's going to hold a lot of stuff as well if we need it. I give Jonathan a shout, he come over here and pipe that empty, and everything's done in 3 or 4 hours, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I would never go back to the way I used to do it. And I remember I used to do it all just with a 1100 gallon tank, and I used to draw back and forth there, and I always got it done, but it used to take days upon days. And a few neighbours used to say to me, Jesus Adrian, that's torture. Look, that's the way we did it. Probably was a load of rubbish now when you think back. Getting the contractor in and getting him to do it in the space of time he does takes an awful pressure off you too, so I'd never go back to that. The first time we ever got the contractor in was only 3 years ago, and that was the first time ever we had a contractor putting out our spring slurry. That was the first time ever we had a contractor putting out any slurry for us, full stop. But it's the way to go for us, especially when I'm busy with cows calving and stuff. It's just a real busy time of year. Took the pressure off me, and yeah, it's definitely worth the money. We're just here now, piping our slurry. I got out some slurry yesterday myself, put out for about 2 or 3 hours, and I got the most at the bottom of our big hill across there done. So this year, we're not going to draw over any more slurry. Last year and the year before we drew over with a 4,000 gallon tank. We're not going to do it this year, I don't think we have to. Because I'm able to get some of it out myself. And whatever this doesn't do, let's give it another dry week. So I'll come out next week with a few load and we'll finish it off ourselves. Jonathan messaged me last night at 9:30, and he says I'll be with you in the morning at 8 o'clock. Which every dairy farmer understands the pressure that put me under. So this morning I was up on the ball at 5 o'clock this morning. I had a cow calved at 5:30, I had a cow calved at 2:30 last night, and I've one in the calving pen at the minute. We haven't had any cows calve in the last 3 or 4 days. It's been very slow in the last 2 weeks, just dribs and drabs. But now we have a bunch of them that are stacked up on top of other, that some of them are late and some of them are before their time. Are all looking like they're going to calve the next couple of days. So my good old wife Sinead packed me a lunch this morning. Fair play to her, because I was glad to get it. I haven't had anything to eat this morning since I got up. And I have a bad habit of not taking any breakfast. My father does take into me. He says the worst thing you could ever do, he says, and what'll lead you to have a bad stomach in life, which I have already, is to not take any breakfast. Sometimes it's just farmers, we just don't get a chance. Breakfast time just doesn't always fall into the routine. You have to race home now to see this cow, because I know she's not far away from it by looking at my phone here. Right, wrapped up like an Eskimo because it's absolutely freezing. I'm on my phone here at the minute, but I had to race home. I had to borrow the lad's quad and race home because our third cow to calve in the last couple of hours is calving here at the minute behind me. She's the feet and the head well out. So I have nowhere to prop this phone. I have no GoPro with me because it's over in the tractor, so I'm just going to take it out of her now. There you see it. So I'll get this out of her and I'll come back to you in a minute. So there we have it. A nice Frisian heifer calf. Now just now when I am at home, I'm kind of catching up with some of the jobs that didn't get done when I had to go early this morning, so I'm just at the bedding out the calves. They'll have a play around now in some straw. I'll take this stuff away now shortly. I'm off to clean the yards and just bedding out the other calves as well. I have another baby cat that was born. I'm going to go and feed that really quick, and then we're going to get back over to the lads. So this is my mode of transport for the day. I think that's either a 250 or a 350. It's definitely a lot newer than mine, as the digital dash and all. And I can tell you one thing, although it might be covered in muck because they're used for slurrying. What do you expect? It runs as sweet as a nut. The engine on that thing is absolutely perfect. It's the morning after the day before, and Jonathan has finished up there. He only took about 3 hours here, and he has most of everything piped. Ground is in great condition, absolutely brilliant condition. Now it might look a bit darker in the gap here because I was doing a bit of tanking before he came, and then when he slurries on top of it, it makes it even look worse, but it's not. There's nothing wrong there. It's lovely to get that job done. Only problem was we didn't get it all done. That tank there is still half full, well, almost half full, and when Jonathan was just on about, I'd say about 3 acres left to do on the far side of this hill, the actually driest part of the hill, it got too thick. The slurry thickened up too much, and I was mixing all the time, and we thought we got it mixed and moving again, but it's that dense of slurry. It's not the fact that it was so thick, it's just so dense of itself, it wouldn't even spin around in the tank. You could put the pipe into it, you could pull the pipe up, it looked watery, yet when you go to spin it round, if that makes sense, it didn't want to go nowhere, and the compressor that they had blowing it out to the pipes just wasn't fit to pick it up. So I might make an attempt to go over and finish the last bit myself. Jonathan says if it doesn't work, well, he actually said to me, advised me not to go in on the field because he has this part slurried and it's not ideal driving across slurry. It could be a bit of a mess. I'll find that out now with this load. But I just looked over at it this morning, everything's fairly dry, and I just said I might attempt it. It mightn't be that bad. And if it doesn't work with the first load, what I'll do instead is I'll draw over about 3 loads of water of that tank and I'll mix it again. And he said he'll come back early next week, roll the pipes back out again and just finish the thing. So that's where we'll leave it. We'll see how we get on with that. I know there's going to be people saying, Adrian, don't drive on slurry. I know that. Yes, I know that. But we'll see how we get on. Just one load. Just one load. And if I make a mess of it, there's only one person to blame, and that'll be me. Loads here. Well, we're not in half loads, we're on 3/4 loads, we say. I don't want to put too much weight on the ground if I can help it. And yes, I am crossing slurry, which is not ideal, but I'm not doing any harm. If I had a full tank on, it might be slightly different. I'll just have to run my tank for a little while, let it build up pressure, because it's not full, so it takes a wee while just to build up that pressure. I know from the drone, everything looks lovely and flat. Very easy work, doesn't it? Unfortunately, in reality, the drone does not show how steep ground is, and we are on steep ground here. Steep calving ground, which in other words means normally wet ground. It'll be interesting to see how well I judge this tank. Will it do what I'm hoping to do, 1 row across and 1 row back? So unfortunately, that was nowhere near what I thought was in that tank. I thought there was far more in that tank than there was, and I'm just judging it by the tyres. Right, we definitely got a fuller load this time, because it just popped up on the back sight glass. So we're definitely 3/4 full, because there is a certain amount, the tank slopes a wee bit back, and there's a certain amount that fills after that, above that. But we have the weight this time. But I'm not really concerned, because we're not doing any harm to the field. A wee bit around the gap, a wee bit of tramping around the gap. I'll run the harrow on that, a wee bit of grass seed. Not do an ounce of harm, because it's given next week dry as well, so that's when I'll do that. Oh yeah, you can feel the weight now. So you might hear the tractor dying down. That's just me trying to get up to the speed that I want to travel at. I can only do that in the odd spot. You'll see me gear down now in a few minutes as we come again the hill. That's why I say the macerator pulls, they're staying down now. The macerator pulls at least 20 horsepower out of the tractor. Flat land, you'll fly. You'll not have an issue kind. It's just this type of land that we have. And then the wide angle shaft that we put on here on that tank about 2 years ago, that has helped a lot with this as well, because you're not stopping as often. See the way I was able to turn there and just keep going on? So yeah, the wide angle shaft was a brilliant purchase, brilliant purchase. I'm just picking my spots here at the minute. I'm not just going around in a circle, because I know certain parts that are wet, and I can come back to them when the tank is practically empty and light, and do them wee bits afterwards. But you have to just keep your wits about you where you are. For arms, if we go back, one more tank will probably do it. I'd say, well, 1.5 tanks will definitely do it. I'm really glad to get this done, because it means Jonathan doesn't have to come back and start into it again. We just get the thing ticked off the list. That work done and complete is the one that I was looking forward to. Alright, slurry, or spring slurry I should say, 2021 on our silage ground is complete. I'm just after going round there and closing all the gaps. There is a few tracks just down at the very bottom of this big hill that I need to get, and before the weather breaks, I think it's given fairly dry next week, the beginning of it. Someone told me it's given snow. My phone's showing dry anyway, and that's what I'll go by, but I'll wait a couple of days, and there's a few little, I mean tiny little tracks that I'll just run the front loader bucket on, just pull it after the tractor, reverse across them and fill them in. That's it. I'm going to wrap this video up. I'm going home now, because I know I have a cow not far away from calving, and we ding dust into the next job. Until then, we'll talk to you again.